Hey everybody. I've had my R2 now for over a month and I've put almost 3,000 miles on it. I wanted to make this video mainly to discuss some of the problems that I've encountered that I feel are, I won't say deal breakers, but I feel like they are experience issues that need to be addressed prior to, let's call it the general populace, taking delivery of this vehicle. And, right now the ramp is still early. Most of the people that are taking delivery are kind of in the early adopter category, I would say. So, they have a higher tolerance for little bugs and glitches, and there's sort of that expectation that this car is still early and there will be problems as it's a new platform and all sorts of things like that. But I do have some things that I've encountered personally in my car, or I do have a friend that took delivery and I've ridden with him and encountered some things in his car. So everything I'm talking about today, I have firsthand experience with. And so these are things that, when you are kind of a niche company, you can get by with, and most of your customers are early adopters. But when you're scaling and trying to break into the mainstream, these are issues that you really cannot afford to have linger, right? So these are just a few. I think I have 6 things that I've encountered that I want to bring up. And the goal here is not to trash Rivian by any means. I love my R2. Let me just get that out there. I love driving this thing. It's really a wonderful car. But these are just some things that I think that they need to spend a little time addressing the bugs. Make sure that things are in a really stable and I guess confidence-inspiring state before they roll this out to even more customers. And I know there's, the balance in software. There's always like, do we spend time addressing bugs, or do we spend time rolling out new features? And that's a constant balance, and there always will be, especially as new features roll out. There will be bugs with the new features. So that it's just something that you have to deal with. But I think there's value in ensuring that your software works, and especially when you kind of have critical function of the car in play, and a software-defined vehicle has almost every aspect of the vehicle is touching software in some way, right? So that makes it even more important to spend time tracking down some of these little edge cases. So I'll get right into it. I don't want to ramble too much here, but the first example of an issue I have, and I have put this in another video before, but phone as key issues. So why is this a big deal? Well, there's the category of issue where, oh, my car unlocks or locks too much or when I don't want it to. And I forgive that pretty easily. And that's just a little quirk of proximity locking and unlocking. But then there's the other one that I encountered where, your phone as key will unlock the car, but then for whatever reason, the car will not go into drive despite the phone previously being detected. It won't detect it in the car for putting it in drive or getting out of park at all, or turning the car on, and that required system restart. And I'll put the clip in. Well, we're gonna do the second part of our charging stop, and now when we try to put it in drive, we're getting no key detected, even though we just passively unlocked the car with our ultra wideband Apple Wallet. So we did this infotainment reset, and that did not seem to fix it. So now we're going to do the maintenance menu restart vehicle reset. So let's see if that fixes it. I mean, if you think about maybe less tech savvy people or people that just want things to work, if they encountered things like this, would they know to go in the menu and restart their car? Would they have to call Rivian support and spend 30 minutes or 45 minutes troubleshooting. That's the kind of thing where a bug that inconveniences me for 5 minutes could inconvenience someone else for 30 minutes. And that's an entirely different customer experience in my mind. Like, I can waste 5 minutes anytime, but when you start talking about wasting half an hour, 45 minutes or an hour, or even, schedule a service visit, people could be scheduling service visits for some of these thinking that there's an issue with the car. And then you've got a whole day potentially where you take your car into service, and then they do diagnostics and tell you, oh, it's probably software, and then you've wasted your day. That kind of thing could happen for some people, and I definitely want these issues to be addressed. Even briefly giving people the impression that they're not going to be able to put their car in drive is a really bad customer experience. The second one is something that I encountered early on in my ownership, and I'll put in the clip I have for this, but it's the false positive alerts. And so let me talk a little bit about that. The first false positive alert that I encountered has actually been addressed in software update, and that was the turn signal error. And they, to their credit, they fixed that very quickly. The other one that I have not seen, one, I haven't seen it again, but two, I have also not seen it be called out in a release notes line item, is a turtle mode that popped up for my wife while she was driving. And it was essentially, we were told it was a false positive, and it went away after a sleep cycle. So that's another one of those things where, no actual harm was done. There was no one stranded. It was more of just a brief lapse of confidence in the vehicle. Like, why is this happening? What is the car seeing that, we should be concerned about? And those are the things that I think it's the same situation as the first one. It's like, you don't want people to lose confidence and feel like your product is cheap or broken in some way. And that's what these bugs can kind of add up to. But let me move on to the third one. The third one was kind of an interesting one. So this occurred in my friend's car. He was trying to format his, I think he has a Samsung T7 or a T5 maybe. Anyway, he was trying to format that for GearGuard, and the formatting process was taking a really long time. And during that time, I think we had to go somewhere, so we put it in drive. And then as he was driving, the infotainment actually did a restart, which has happened from time to time. Also, not something you really want to happen to the general population, because one, it's like a little unnerving, even though there's separate systems for the propulsion of the car, and that it doesn't, safety is intact and everything. It's still not super fun to have happen when you are relying on maybe the data from the driver display or mapping or whatever. But anyway, so that when he was formatting this, it sent the car into a boot loop, or not a loop necessarily, but essentially the system could not start back up. And finally, I think it was 4 or 5 minutes, we just unplugged the drive, and that seemed to fix it, and it was able to finish starting up. And this all occurred while we were just out driving, and I put the video clip in, but
5 minutes, right?
Yeah, it's been like a good 3 to 4 minutes, I think. Infotainment restarting while driving. Normal Rivian things. See how long it takes. Yeah, we've tried the infotainment restart with the scroll wheels, and it doesn't, in this state, it doesn't do anything. But the car is still completely drivable. you're just missing some features, safety features and autonomy features and things like that. I have an idea. Unplug your hard drive or solid state. It did change screens. I wonder if it got stuck with some sort of boot thing with the drive.
Yeah.
Because it's back. Okay, that's pretty good. It's back. Yeah, that was not ideal. And that has been since the recent .41 update. So that definitely could have, introduced a bug. I didn't have that happen to me whenever I had gear guard set up. I also have a different drive, so there could just be some little like edge incompatibility issues with different drives. Obviously, it's nearly impossible to test every drive on the market, but stuff like that really should not happen. This fourth one, not a big deal at all, but I have noticed when I get in the car after it's been asleep, put my foot on the brake and then reverse out of my garage, the backup camera is stuttering because the car is, I think, still sort of starting up. But it's not ideal to have your backup camera feed stutter. It could change your perception of where you are, things like that. And two, it just feels cheap. So, if there's any sort of tuning that can be done on vehicle startup and waking, that's certainly something. And I've got this little clip. It's pretty hard to see, but it certainly does stutter a few times. And this is almost every time the car wakes up when you have the camera feed going. So that's another thing I would love to see addressed before a wider rollout. The fifth one I have is the window rolling up issue that we encountered in my friend's car. And I actually made a short for this, but I will put this in this video as well to explain. If the window gets stuck in your R2, there's actually a recalibration process. So you have to go roll it all the way down or all the way up, and then once it's in that position, that you hold the button the same direction for 8 seconds. And then in our case, every time we do this, we get a little bit more window. So we're just going to keep doing it. This actually took like 3 or 4 minutes, and it's kind of hilarious as it was happening because you see just tiny amounts of progress each time you do it. And we just kept at it, and you can see from the video the window does go up slightly each time, and eventually we got it back to the normal closed position, and it seems fine. One thing to note is we didn't quite know what was going on, but we did check the Rivian app. Whenever you have a door or window open, the Rivian app will have a little informational icon at the top right when you do. So we had the window rolled up to the top position, quote unquote top position, and it was showing closed, and then obviously it was not closed. So the car thought it was closed. That's how we kind of knew we had to do the recalibration. And then I'm also going to share the owner's manual. It's page 403, which outlines the procedure that we did. And the last one I have noted is just an odd little quirk, and also kind of centered around the waking and sleeping of this car. But I've noticed, well, actually my friend pointed out to me, and then I verified with my car, when you level 2 and possibly level 3. I'm not sure how you'd be in this situation since you have to back into the stall. But when you plug the car in while it is sleeping, and you can do that in R2 because the manual charge port door does not wake the car up when you open it. Unlike R1, where if the charge port door was closed, the car would have to wake up before it opens. In R2, you can open the charge port door, plug it in, and then the car doesn't wake up until you plug in your level 2 charging cable. And I've noticed when you plug it in before the car's awake, every time it gets a charge error, and I did video of this as well. Okay, when the R2 is asleep and you go to, see it's unlocked, when it's asleep and you go to plug it in, it has a charging error every time, the first time you plug it in. Almost like the handshake tries to initiate before the car is fully awake. So you have to unplug it. And then it works the second time. Yeah, so that's just a small list of issues that I've noticed that, you know, they don't ruin the experience, but they kind of cheapen the experience, I'll say. And, you know, once again, I'm maybe nitpicking a little bit, but, you know, I discuss these things and make these videos to spread awareness around things that I feel could be better. And ultimately, I really just want the product to be better for everyone. And the more people that eventually purchase this car, and I know that based on the price point and the value and the package you get, this will be a higher volume car than the R1, without a doubt. So there will be a wider market and a wider group of people who have access to this car. And like I said, not all of these people are tech savvy. Not all of them are tolerant of bugs like this. Some of them may be coming from a Tesla software experience. And, you know, anyone that's jumped from Tesla to Rivian knows that there's definitely just a different playing field as far as software polish, feature set, things like that. And I think we all want Rivian to get there. We want to push them to deliver, you know, features that work. We want stable software. We want, we don't want our car to have to restart all the time. We want it to feel like solid. It drives solid. It feels well made. From a hardware perspective, we want the software to match the hardware experience. This is not like an exhaustive list of the issues that I've encountered. These are just some that, one, I feel are detrimental to the experience of the normal person if they were to encounter. And two, these are actually issues that I've been able to encounter either while I had my phone and was available to record, or two, have encountered them multiple times and can replicate them in order to capture footage of them. You know, I don't expect anyone to just like blindly trust that you know, if I say I've had a bug, trust me and, you know, trust me, bro, or whatever. I like to show what I'm experiencing, and that's kind of the point of YouTube and this medium, right? Is to show and to invite them to come along with my experience through video. So, you know, have I had numerous other things that have happened like once that I didn't get to record? Sure, but I don't feel like there's a point in mentioning those here. And I also want to make sure to note, this video is not the first time that Rivian will be made aware of these things. Every time I encounter something and I can like articulate the circumstances or have, you know, a way to replicate it, I do submit the feedback in the app. You know, I'm sure it goes to a big pile somewhere, and they probably prioritize those based on the highest number of similar feedbacks and whatnot. You know, that's fine. I think it's important to give them a fair shot. Also want to make sure to note all these issues are as of August 2026. If you're watching this video in the future, I'm sure new updates will have been released and they probably will address a lot of these. I will certainly make follow-up videos when they do release new updates. If they address these specific issues, I will gladly, congratulate them and thank them. That's kind of part of the constructive feedback that I like to give, and that's, it's my belief that software becomes better by users using it and submitting feedback, and that is, in my experience in software, that's true. Sometimes developers, the first time they encounter something is via user feedback or user testing. So it's not, I have no expectation that you ship a build that is perfect, but I certainly think that there could be improvements to, validation and testing and regression testing and things like that to make sure that bugs don't slip through the cracks on some of these things, especially as no doubt the team is moving very quickly to get R2 features out and get it feature parity with R1, things like that. So yeah, I don't want this video to run too long, but I really appreciate everybody subscribing and commenting and liking the video. Hopefully your R2 ownership experience is smooth in the future. If you get your car and don't have any issues, that's perfect, and that's the goal. But for early adopters, I think we have a responsibility to try to make the product better, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do here. So I appreciate everyone watching and hope you have a great day. See ya.